The photographer's secret. He was just there to film a birthday party, but what his camera caught was murder. In a city where silence keeps you safe and truth gets you killed, one photographer is about to become the most wanted man in Lagos. A story of truth, love, betrayal, and survival. In the restless heart of Lagos, where the city buzzed with ambition and dreams often drowned beneath traffic noise and neon lights, lived a man named Livingstone, a quiet force with a camera in his hand and fire in his soul. He wasn't famous, not yet, but everyone who had ever hired him never forgot the boy with steady hands and sharper eyes. He had made a name for himself in the crowded lanes of Suralere, where weddings lit up the streets like carnivals and birthdays competed with church crusades for noise and color. Wisdom never missed a detail. He caught the tears of a mother giving her daughter away, the nervous tremble of a groom's lips just before the vows, the quiet blush on a birthday girl's cheek when the cake arrived. His lens captured things that words could not, and that was why he was loved and feared. Because the truth, when caught raw and unfiltered, was powerful. At 28, Wisdom was lean and light-skinned, with shoulder-length dreadlocks often tied back in a rough bun when he was walking. His face was always calm, but his eyes, those brown, calculated eyes, spoke volumes. They scanned people, searched through masks, and held on to stories. He was a man of few words, but his silence said more than most people's speeches. He had no family. Not anymore. They were ghosts, lost to poverty, sickness, and in one tragic case, betrayal. The streets raised him. His camera saved him. That Friday morning, Lagos woke up the way it always did, noisy and indifferent. But for Wisdom, something felt different. He had just finished a 2-day shoot in Oja, a traditional marriage that had him on his feet from dusk till dawn. His bones ached, and his eyes burned with fatigue. But there was no rest in the life he lived. Work meant survival. And survival couldn't wait. His phone buzzed at exactly 9:47 a.m. Nora calling. Nora wasn't just anyone. She was part muse, part friend, and part mystery. She was graceful, the kind of woman whose silence attracted more attention than her laughter. Her voice always felt like twilight, calm, deep, and soaked in secrets. Wisdom, she said softly when he picked up. I've recommended you for something big. He sat up immediately, sleep falling off like dust. Talk to me. My brother Festus is planning a surprise birthday party for our dad. He wants the best photographer in Lagos. I told him he already knew him. Wisdom didn't smile, but something stirred in his chest. You serious? As death, she said. Silence passed between them. Send me the details, he replied, and the line went dead. By evening, Wisdom had everything he needed: location, time, access tags. The event was to be held in a private estate in Ikoyi. One of those houses with tall white walls and guards that didn't smile. The celebrant was no other than Senator Matthew Fadeyi, a man whose name carried weight like thunder and whose face never smiled in the news. Wisdom had heard of him. Everyone had. The man was power personified, feared by the masses, loved by the elites, and shrouded in more rumors than a political campaign. It was said that under his clean agbada lay the blood of 100 enemies, but Lagos was not a place for truth. It was a place for stories, spun, twisted, and traded. Still, Wisdom packed his bag and charged his gear. He didn't ask questions. He never did. The night came fast. By 7:30 p.m., he was already at the estate. Guests had started arriving: senators, commissioners, oil tycoons, and the occasional socialite with scandalous makeup and a scent that filled up the air like gunpowder. The compound was wide, with tiled floors, marble pillars, and lighting that looked like it had been imported from Dubai. Wisdom moved like a shadow, camera in hand, steady and unnoticed. He filmed the laughter, the fake hugs, the whispers. He caught everything. But then, the noise stopped. It was just after 8:12 p.m. The event had not officially started, and Wisdom had stepped out into a quieter wing of the compound to capture some aesthetics. That was when he heard it, a soft scuffle, the rustle of footsteps behind the curtain. He paused. His camera, still recording, slowly tilted toward the source. And what it caught would change everything. Senator Fadeyi. Two of his guards in black. And a man on his knees, hands bound behind his back, blood already on his shirt. The senator's voice was cold and final. You shouldn't have spoken. A flash of silver. A short pistol. A muffled shot. The man collapsed, lifeless. Wisdom didn't breathe. His heart threatened to betray him. But his instincts were faster than fear. He zoomed out, switched angles, and silently stepped back into the shadows. No one saw him. But as he turned to leave, his boot tapped a piece of wood. Clack. The senator's head turned sharply. Who's there? But Wisdom was gone, like mist swallowed by wind. He returned to the main event like nothing had happened. He filmed, he smiled, he nodded. But his heart was pounding. Every second felt borrowed. Every second, he expected a hand on his shoulder, a gun to his head. But the moment passed. The event ended. He left. No one stopped him. Yet. At midnight, back in his small studio apartment in Surrey, he collapsed onto his mattress. Sleep came not as rest, but as escape. But it wouldn't last. Morning came with recklessness. His apprentice, James, a 21-year-old boy with big dreams and zero discipline, was already at the studio, yawning with one hand and sipping Le Casserole with the other. I fit help you run editing? James asked. Wisdom, still half asleep, waved him off. Remove all the unimportant clips, he mumbled. We are sending it to the senator today. And James did. Or at least, he thought he did. He trimmed the clips, added soft music, color-corrected the party scenes, and burned it into a flash drive. He didn't watch the full footage, he was too lazy, too careless. By 1 p.m., one of the senator's security men showed up at the studio. No words were exchanged. Just a flash drive, and a brown envelope. The man left. And Wisdom got paid. Then, everything went cold. Wisdom sat up sharply, sweat cold on his spine. The clip. He hadn't removed it. He hadn't checked. The murder. The senator. The shot. It was still there. He turned to James, horror on his face. You checked the whole footage. James blinked, confused. I think so. You think? He didn't wait for the answer. He grabbed his phone, and just as he unlocked the screen, it buzzed. Call from Nora. The senator's daughter. His secret friend. His first almost lover. She wasn't smiling. Her voice was shaking. Wisdom, you need to run. Now. The line went dead. For one blinding second, Wisdom just sat there, frozen, heart thudding so loud it seemed to shake the walls of the tiny studio. The Lagos sun, which had been burning hot a moment ago, now felt cold against his skin. James was staring at him, clueless, the unfinished Le Casserole bottle hanging limply from his hand. What's happening, bro? He asked, voice small. Wisdom didn't answer. He couldn't. His body had already decided what his mind was still trying to process, run. He sprang to his feet, grabbing his backpack, his laptop, a few hard drives, anything he could sweep into his arms within seconds. His camera remained on the table, a witness to the panic unraveling in real time. James, listen, Wisdom hissed, his voice sharp and fast like broken glass. Delete everything. Wipe the drives. Clean this place. Make it look like we haven't been here for a week. You hear me? James opened his mouth to speak, to argue, maybe, but the loud, screeching sound of tires against asphalt outside silenced him. A black Prodo Jeep. Tinted windows. Moving too fast for casual visitors. They were here. Now. Without thinking, Wisdom grabbed James by the collar and shoved him toward the back door, a rusty, forgotten escape route that opened into the alleyways behind the row of shops. Gio, he backed. They slipped out just as heavy boots slammed against the studio's front door. Bang. 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 Another bang, louder, angrier. Then the splintering sound of wood breaking apart. Wisdom didn't dare look back. He and James weaved through the alleys, over potholes, past dirty drainage channels, squeezing through narrow passages where only rats and desperate men belonged. James was panting hard, wheezing. "Where will they go?" he gasped. "Somewhere they can't follow," Wisdom snapped. But deep down, he knew there weren't many places left. By evening, they were crouched in the burnt remains of an abandoned car wash near Mushin. The air reeked of charred rubber and regret. Wisdom paced the cracked floor, his mind racing, while James slumped against the wall, coughing from exhaustion. "My guy, abeg tell me wetin dey happen," James finally said. Wisdom stopped. He turned, looked at the boy, really looked at him, and saw the fear swimming in his eyes. James wasn't ready for this kind of war. He was still a child, pretending to be a man. So Wisdom told him, quickly, brutally, about the senator, the shooting, the clip. James' face drained of color. "We dead?" "Not yet," Wisdom said, grim. "But if we stay here, we will be." James buried his face in his hands. "No me cause am. I no check well." "Wisdom, abeg. Save it," Wisdom cut him off. "Right now, we need to think." His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He hesitated. Could it be Nora? Could it be a trap? After a moment's agony, he answered, keeping the call short. "Meet me at Unity Garden Hotel. Room 207. Come alone." It was Nora. Her voice was different now, clipped, breathless, but it was her. And Wisdom trusted her more than he trusted himself. For better or worse. He pocketed the phone and turned to James. "You can't come with me," he said. "Where I won't go now?" James asked, panic rising. Wisdom dug into his backpack, pulled out a wad of cash he kept for emergencies, and thrust it into James' hand. "Go home. Pack light, anything you can move. Disappear for a few days. Change your SIM card. Burn anything that links you to me. Understand? And don't come looking for me." James looked like he might cry, but he nodded. Then Wisdom was gone, slipping into the twilight streets of Lagos, where shadows were thick and loyalty was thin. Unity Garden Hotel was the kind of place where married men brought their secrets and criminals came to breathe. It sat like a forgotten relic at the edge of Yoba, its faded neon sign blinking like a dying heartbeat. Wisdom approached it with the wariness of a hunted animal. In the lobby, a tired-looking receptionist barely glanced up as he passed. Room 207 was upstairs, end of the corridor. His boots made almost no sound on the dusty carpet. He knocked once. The door opened immediately. And there she was. Nora. Barefoot, wearing jeans and an oversized t-shirt, her hair tied back into a messy knot, her face scrubbed clean of makeup. She looked nothing like the poised siren he had met at upper-class parties. She looked real. Fragile. Terrified. Beautiful. She pulled him inside and locked the door. For a second, they just stood there, breathing each other in. The air between them was thick with everything they had never said. "I told you to run," she whispered, stepping closer. "I did," he said, voice hoarse. "I'm here." Something flickered across her face, relief, anger, something else. "You shouldn't have come. You shouldn't have called," he countered. A shaky laugh escaped her lips. Then her hands were on his face, cupping it, her fingers trembling. For a moment, the world outside, the killers, the senator, the flashing lights of Lagos, disappeared. There was only them. Wisdom leaned in before he could stop himself, his forehead resting against hers. "You saved me," he murmured. "No," she breathed. "You saved yourself." Their lips brushed, once, twice, like a secret being told too softly. Then, finally, they kissed. It was desperate, messy, full of the kind of fear that tasted like hope. Nora clutched his shirt, pulling him closer like she could anchor herself to him. Wisdom's hand slid into her hair, feeling the silk of it between his fingers, grounding himself in her. It was the kind of kiss you gave when you knew tomorrow might never come. When they finally pulled apart, both gasping, Nora whispered, "We have to leave Lagos." Wisdom touched his forehead to hers again. "Where? And, why are you trying to help me? Why come this far with me? What if your father finds out?" "My uncle," she said. "He has a place in Ibadan. Remote. Safe. We can hide there, plan our next move. And why am I helping you? I've been in love with you for a long time now. I really love you, Wisdom. I can't stand seeing you being killed by my own father, and yes, if he finds out, which I am sure he will, then no problem. I love you, that's all that matters, and I know you love me too, unless you don't." Wisdom was quiet for a few seconds. "How do we get out?" he asked. "The roads are crawling with the senator's men. But I know someone. A biker. He owes me." Wisdom nodded, his mind already ticking through plans, risks, escape routes. "You trust him?" "I trust nobody," she said grimly. "But we have no choice." Outside, the world rumbled on, engines growling, sirens wailing in the distance. But inside room 207, for the first time in hours, Wisdom felt a sliver of something like hope. It tasted like her. The night was restless. Wisdom sat on the edge of the bed, the weight of the battered backpack heavy on his shoulders, watching Nora as she secured the final strap around her wrist. She moved with a quiet urgency, efficient, practiced. Like someone who had run from danger before. "We move now," she said, pulling a hoodie over her head. He nodded. Downstairs, the lobby was empty except for a thin, weary man hunched over the reception desk, snoring softly. The clock behind him ticked a slow, painful rhythm. 1:37 a.m. Perfect. Nora led the way through the back door, an old service exit, into the humid darkness of Lagos streets. The city never truly slept. Even now, somewhere in the distance, a generator hummed, street hawkers murmured, and the occasional downfall bus rattled past, filled with lost souls chasing late-night miracles. At the corner, under a broken street lamp, a motorbike was waiting. The rider was tall, wearing a leather jacket and a helmet that hid his face. The bike was sleek and black, humming with suppressed power. Nora approached him cautiously. "You sure about this?" Wisdom muttered under his breath. "No," she said, swinging onto the bike. "But we don't have time for perfect plans." Wisdom climbed on behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. The rider revved the engine once, a deep, angry growl, then peeled off into the night. They weaved through Lagos traffic like spirits, dodging downfalls, market women carrying baskets twice their size, stray goats, and broken-down trailers. The rider was good. Too good. He knew every pothole, every shortcut, every way to make a human body feel weightless. But Wisdom never let go of his paranoia. He kept glancing behind them, heart hammering against his ribs. Nothing. Only shadows. Until they hit the outskirts, near Ojodubaga, when Wisdom's fear found flesh. A pair of headlights flared into existence behind them. Then another. Then a third. Black cars. Unmarked. Hunters. "They are coming," Wisdom hissed into Nora's ear. She didn't answer, just gripped the biker tighter. The man twisted the throttle. The bike surged forward, the cold night air whipping against their faces. But the cars were faster. And they were gaining. The first shot rang out near where were, a single, vicious crack that sliced the night in two. Bullets. Real ones. Wisdom ducked instinctively, pressing Nora closer to the biker's back. The rider jerked the bike off the main road, flying into a service lane, the tire screeching in protest. They dodged between abandoned trucks and roadside sellers shutting down their stalls, weaving through traffic so tight that more than once Wisdom's foot scraped against rusted metal. Another shot. Closer this time. Wisdom risked a glance back, saw one of the black SUVs bump a taxi out of the way like it was made of paper. These men weren't playing. They weren't planning to capture him. They were planning to kill him. Ahead, the service lane ended in a crude barricade, old tires, iron rods, trash can stacked into a desperate wall. The biker didn't slow. He gunned the engine and launched the bike over the barrier. They were airborne for a terrifying second, floating, weightless, before slamming back onto solid ground with bone-jarring force. Wisdom nearly bit through his tongue. But they were still moving. Still alive. The SUVs weren't so lucky. One tried to follow and crashed into the barricade with a sickening crunch. The other swerved, slowed. A few precious seconds won. Enough for the biker to veer sharply onto a narrow dirt path leading into the bush. They left the roads behind, swallowed by shadows and wild grass taller than a man. Finally, after what felt like hours but must have only been minutes, the biker pulled up beside a small, crumbling church at the edge of nowhere. No lights. No sounds. Only the whisper of the trees and the frantic beating of Wisdom's heart. Out, the biker grunted. Wisdom climbed off first, then Nora. His legs were shaking, but he forced them to hold steady. Here, the biker said, tossing Nora a small Nokia burner phone. Use it. Not your regular line. He peeled away without another word, the bike disappearing into the darkness. Wisdom and Nora were alone again. And for the first time since this nightmare began, they were off the grid. Really off. Come, Nora said, grabbing his hand. They slipped into the church through a broken side door. Inside, the pews were splintered, the altar covered in dust, the stained glass windows shattered. But it was shelter. It was hope. Nora found a small room behind the altar, probably once a priest's study, and they collapsed inside, side by side on the bare, cracked floor. For a long time, neither spoke. They just lay there, breathing, listening to the wild heartbeat of the night. Finally, Nora whispered, so low he barely heard. I'm scared. Wisdom turned his head toward her, saw her silhouette outlined against the faint moonlight leaking through the broken windows. So am I, he said. He reached out, found her hand in the dark. Held it. Tightly. As if by holding on to each other, they could hold on to life itself. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. Closer, an owl hooted, a lonely sound, hollow and sad. But inside that broken church, two fugitives clung to each other, hearts beating wild, spirits refusing to break. Tomorrow would bring new dangers. New blood. New betrayals. But tonight, they were alive. And sometimes, survival was enough.